Alright. Oh, one more thing down over here. Alright. There we are. Okay. Alright. So. Still in some little setup hitches, but should be good. I'm gonna kind of just do a couple of a really casual painting bit here today. And where is? Let's go with you guys. And there you are. I'm gonna fill in this moon spot here, which I've had for a fair while now. I'm trying to finish up this painting. I don't think it'll take the whole stream session, but you never know. I do kind of plan on switching to another one as we go through it. Alright. Okay, so very, very bright, probably a lot more white. Okay, it's a little bit more white. Curious as to how yellow mixes in with it. Alright. Not horrid, not entirely all there. I need some touch-ups later. Do you make any difference? Oop. I don't know, but we'll give it a shot, give it a shot. Nay? Oh, damn it. Shifting gears too much. Oh, but yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to talk about. I placed a order for a new palette. Sort of. I like the concept I had for a see-through palette, but this is what happened with my first attempt in cleaning it. It didn't come out well, and it's a one-time use type thing, which is not effective. That's not what I want to do. So I was thinking about getting a glass one instead of the acrylic that I've got here. And I went into, yeah, that'll work, the town's glass store and asked them about it. It's gonna be like $9 to make one. So that's at least worth the experiment. It could be pretty cool. It could be not as well, but it's the price of progress, I guess. But anyway, I'm kind of excited about that. But there was also apparently, for some reason, a rush. They're really busy with a lot of glass orders, and my little experiment will take a while. I'm fine with that. But there's well, the other thing was it was just pane glass. I'm not an expert on glass. I never claimed to be. Hey, you got it. Sweet, man. Cool. Thank you. See? Knew you were the right man for the job. Yeah, hey man. Welcome. We're doing some painting today. I'm finishing up a Sailor Moon picture I've got here. Sort of a commission of sorts. Well, it's a request. It was a request from one of my viewers. But yeah, it's I really do need to like touch up my channel more. Oh, I did do some changes to the information bits down below. At Beatrice's request. Sort of. I updated with YouTube information, Twitter and the like. Made them myself. Not the best, but not the worst. Not quite sure how to improve on it a bit more. Things get weird. It's logo and like type font stuff. I don't quite have the best of luck with. Takes a lot of work to get it to look decent. I always have like weird ideas for how to get them going, but once I can't quite explain, which makes it a lot harder finding any of that shit. But yeah, now I have a Discord command, so I don't have to stop and copy paste it every time now. That's gonna be really nice. Used to have somebody who could who would just do that when people asked. Pretty cool. And she left though. Yeah, it's I think the term is panels, I think is what they're called. Yeah. It's quite literally Umineko references. The Higurashi story I was reading yesterday and whatnot. Umineko is kind of the sequel. Sort of. Not really, but same author, same world, but completely different setting type of thing. Anyway, that gilded font is that's all over the place in that game, that story. It's kind of the menu theme and stuff like that. Figured it would work. As is the font. I managed to find the official font for the game and use it to make a little text button thing. Yeah, but it works. It looks better than the default free ones I had from before. It's when I first started this channel, I didn't have any money or expenses to spend on any of that stuff. I just used what I had available to me. And free panels and pre-made things were what I had. But wingless, huh? Is that... If that's a music theme, I can't remember the name of it. You're currently listening to Umineko music. This is stuff from the game. Oh yeah, sure. Feel free to DM me just about anything on Discord. That's kind of my official messaging service. Alright, so this is coming out kind of like I thought. We're almost done here. Yeah. But yeah, the Umineko is quite long. To put in perspective, I read it just about every day. Last year, I spent almost an entire year reading Umineko. I started uploading YouTube videos during chapter 3, and once it was over, I shifted to Danganronpa, finished that, and then we're on Higurashi. So it wasn't too long ago I finished reading it. It's a very, very long story, but it's actually pretty good. It's a very different type of story. I can't quite explain it. It's definitely a mystery genre, but a very unconventional one. Very unconventional. And I am not a mystery novel buff. I find them interesting to watch and listen to and be a part of, so I never guess the right culprit. I don't put as much effort into it as I should, or as is needed to find the culprit. But I gave it a shot, Umineko, and I came close a couple of times. Most of it was off the mark, though. But you can't quite blame me. That show is very, very misleading. They do have some interesting characters, and one of the things, another painting I'm going to be doing up is for Halloween. There's a series I have been keeping tabs on, and I entered a fan art competition year before last. Yeah, it was either last year or the year before. I entered a fan art contest and won first place for the 3D competition. I 3D modeled a character, basically from scratch. And so I want to try it again. This time with a painting, but still not quite sure what the. I've got an idea. One of the characters, 1 or 2, not quite sure right now, but the characters dressing up as the Umineko cast, which I think could be pretty cool. Why are you guys? I use Blender. Straight up the entirety of Blender. Taught myself how to use it, whatnot, but I do sculpting as well. I have done sculpting. I set it aside because what I was trying to use it for wasn't working. Give me a sec. Yeah, I originally picked up sculpting. Well, originally to make Garage Kit resin figures, because that was what I was interested in at the time. But I didn't like the having to break things down into weird components and then put them back together. Like, this is the arm broken at the wrist, and the shoulder, and then the hand is a separate piece. You've got the head, and then all these different pieces, because trying to sculpt it individually like that is annoying. Trying to sculpt it as one piece is ideal, but then I have to break it up. But if it's being broken up, I have to design it to be broken up in the first place. It's kind of convoluted. Okay, so I shifted over to 3D modeling. It's just normal clay, but you bake it. Give me a sec here. It's just normal clay. I used at the time, I believe, air dry clay, paper clay, something of that nature. Ah, shit. And well, close it down. Like think of, yeah, no, it's not marble. Oh yeah, no, I've definitely like my namesake, I've done quite a lot of things looking for stuff. Followers and primes and views, come on and follow. Sure, absolutely, man, totally. Be right there. Just come back tomorrow. But you know, it's I've done a lot of. Hey man, hey, welcome. Doing some painting, talking about arts. But yeah, I like my namesake, I did a lot of arts and crafts. And at one point I was looking through doing some of the sculpting stuff. Originally I was using polymer clay. Well, I went through multiple stages of sculpting. First ones I did were through a clay my mother had. It was a oil-based clay, and I got pretty good at sculpting that, and it had the qualities of being always soft. Arts and farts. hello. But arts and farts, yeah, it was a clay, it was a red oil-based clay, and it never hardened. You could sit it and leave it there for months, and it would still be able to be worked with. Might get a bit old and dry, but it would still be workable, which was a positive if it was a subject you come back to every so often, which is what I was. I wasn't quite certain if I wanted to sculpt it like that or not, so I tried using that. After the fact, I learned that that type of clay does not interact with silicone, which is what I was originally going to use to make molds of my sculpt to make things, which means that clay didn't fly. I was gonna, it quite literally creates a film and bubbles and reacts to silicone, so you cannot make a mold with it. So then I shifted to polymer clay, which is that stuff you can sit there and mess with all the time, and then you stick in the oven and bake it, and then it hardens and becomes solidified. I thought that was pretty cool. And once it's solidified, you can like sand it and cast it and things like that. No, it's a chemical reaction with the clay. The vacuum chamber wouldn't make a difference. Well, it potentially would, but not a significant enough one for it to matter. Yeah, like it would, like, you take the oil-based clay and you put silicone, smush it together, and you would get bubbles and film and just non-preferable things. It would be like slimy is when you would start messing with it. So I took those what I learned from that sculpting and just took it as a learning experience. Then I moved to polymer clay, which was pretty cool, but that had the that's when I started running into the sculpt a single piece and cut it into multiple pieces in order to cast it. It didn't work out for a couple of reasons. I've got a couple sculpted pieces not over here. Yeah, I think they're over there. They're over there in the corner of my house. I can show them if you want, but I'd have to get up and go get them. But it was polymer clay, and it had similar qualities. It was able to be worked on and wouldn't be changed, wouldn't stay that way unless you baked it. And you basically stick it in an oven, like 100, 200, something. No, I think it was like 300 degrees. You just bake it in an oven. I can't remember the specifics, but you bake it in an oven, and then it becomes hard and stays solid in that position. And so I thought that would work out, because at the time I wasn't quite sure. All my art skills are self-taught. I've taught myself every bit of art that I do. School of Hard Knocks and all that. And so I wasn't quite sure if my sculpting would be good enough. I didn't quite know what to do about it. And so I wanted to play it safe and make it so I had options and I wasn't locked into one way or the other. So I went with polymer clay, which was kind of neat, but I was working with making a figure on it. And what I ran into was I would have the sculpture, like, well, we can take Sailor Moon for example there. Say I'm holding her, okay, as a 3D sculpted object, and I'm sitting here holding, and I'm trying to sculpt right here, and I shape up her abdomen or something. Sitting here shaping it up, I flip it over, and my hand's on the back side. When I push in this way, I'd have to push back this way to do it, because if I didn't have this, I'd just push, I'd be pushing it across the table and I wouldn't get anywhere. So I had to hold on it and then smooth out and shape it. But I flipped it over and my hand had been pushing back on here, so I'd have to fix that. But you'd flip it over and then this side would have marks. And so since it was always soft and there was nothing solid, I couldn't ever finalize it because it kept getting smushed one way or the other. And so I decided to try and bake it and work from there. But once you bake it, it becomes hard and you can't just easily shape it off. You have to sit there and scrape it off, grind it off, sand it off to get it back into shape. And I had issues with committing to such stuff, and so sculpting didn't quite take off for me in that manner. I still would like to do it, but not with the original designs I had. Because one of the things I was planning to do with sculpting was make dolls. I know a lot more about the making of dolls than I ever thought I would, but hey, it works out. Yeah, I was originally gonna make resin figure kits, those toys and models that all those anime nerds have sitting on their shelves, right? I was gonna make those, custom ones maybe, which could have been cool, but it just didn't work out. And so I shifted gears. Then I tried making dolls. Again, custom objects, but a little more specialized. And that turned out okay. And I started using paper clay there. It would didn't have one. And looking back on it, I was just really afraid of committing, because what if I screwed it up and it's like locked like that forever, and I have to work really hard to get it back into place, yada yada. But I've actually found that screwing up and committing to something that that may or may not work is actually a good thing, because all of my sculpting projects, all of them, have never been finished. I never finished any of them. They were always stuck at a just about ready, bit more finishing, bit more touch-ups. I never finished any of them, and I was afraid of finishing them, if I'm being fully honest. Which is really silly when you think about it, but that's what it was. But yeah, you could do a blowtorch, heat torch, something or other, and heat up bits of it. That's what some of the people do. I didn't have that. This was back a while back, and I just didn't have any specialized equipment. I had an X-Acto knife, one sculpting tool, clay, and my fingers. That's what I had. That's all I was working with. And the reason I used Blender was because it was a free program and such like that, so I didn't really have many options to mess with, and I was afraid of committing lots of investment into something I, at the moment, didn't know if I was actually going to enjoy or be any good at. But now you see me sitting here at painting this stuff, and I've got like paint that I've just bought off the shelf, like this stuff. It's like $9. I haven't even opened this one yet. Of course, I still have some paint for the other ones, but I've done so much more when I've allowed myself, okay, let's try this out and see if it works. Yeah. I still don't know if I can make a living doing this painting bit, but I'm enjoying it, so I'm it's like, it's working, let's give it a shot and go with it. Because one of the biggest problems I had was uncertainty, indecision. That was a really, really big hang up for me. Still is in a bit, and I'm actually recently been having indecision about moving, but that's at least partially understandable. But yeah, it's when you've got an indecision, and it could be anything, one way or the other, and you don't decide. Give me one moment here. Yeah. But yeah. Isn't values. Yeah, no, it's yes and no. You've got some people who make just obscene amounts of money making artwork. And then you have artists who make absolutely nothing. Art is a very weird business. But yeah, it's not practical like engineering or medical. Absolutely, that's I think the biggest distinction between them. It is important. Yeah, it's homepage. All right, give me a sec. YouTube. Give me a sec, loading it up. All right, that worked. Cool. Thank you, man. Thank you. I now have bots that do things. Sweet. No, that actually probably works out a bit better. If it was, you could go straight to video, but I do have live stream and stuff. Timers. Yeah, cool. I did try. One of the main reasons I actually have the bot was to try and run a dice rolling program, which sort of worked, but not really. me a minute. But yeah, that's pretty cool, man. I'm not quite sure what I would do with timers. I don't need them. Well, in a stream. If you want to run out any like odd little pet project commands, feel free. As long as they're not obscene or get me banned or anything like that. Yeah, knock yourself out with it. Anything you want to try. I tend to be a relatively simple man. If I need to do something, I tend to either like type it up or look for the direct link. I don't ever use any bot commands myself personally, unless we're doing some watching somebody else and they have like some like giveaway or a chat group project thingy, which I just don't have. So honestly, pulling up my channel information on other sets is just about the most I will need from it. Of course, I could just be an idiot and overlooking something dreadfully obvious, like I happened with my Discord channel and YouTube server and such. Discord server, YouTube channel. But yeah, it's I don't need much. Yeah, even to that point, I'm gonna be moving to Texas. I still have internal doubts about that every so often, and I did actually yesterday. But about moving. Oops. There we are. Right in Texas. Currently, I'm looking at Fort Worth, Texas. Is the spot I'm going to be going to. Two main reasons, and they're actually pretty simplistic ones in the grand scheme of things. One, that's where an art school is. It's an atelier, where instead of like having like graphical design or 3D modeling or whatnot, they teach based off the old master's style. So like the same way famous artists back in the day, Leonardo, and all those old farts, they studied and looked at objects and then just drew them normally. That's the art style I'm going to. ZBrush, hello, welcome, long time no see. Arts mister, love your arts. Well, thank you. Currently I'm thinking around with painting. I could try some 3D stuff, but I've lost kind of a main reason for it. I'm not doing the doll stuff anymore. It's not that I can't, I'm just doing this now. But yeah, it's currently I'm working on Sailor Moon. Sort of, well, finishing up the picture. I've made the picture here, but it seemed kind of empty in this area, so putting in a moon. Oh, thank you. Worked decently hard at it. Have you seen any of my other paintings I've made? Can't remember if you've seen any of those or not. I can show them to you if you want. Well, thank you. I try. I'm decent at the colors. Well, better than average, but I still have work to go. And so yeah, I only have a select set of colors, and actually Sailor Moon is one where the colors are very simplistic. You've got white, blue, red, and yellow. That's about it, plus the skin tone. Yeah, the Razor Sword, yeah, I like that too, and it's sad that that was the sword that was the least used in the game. Could have had so much potential, but It makes sense, and the game was only made in a year, so it is what it is. Alright. Well, ZBrush, I'll pull out my other paintings for you in just a sec. I'm going to try and touch up some of these patchy spots here. Right, but yeah, it's I've currently got 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my 5th, and I've got a 6th one in progress as well. Oh. And I'm going to be doing a 7th one for a Halloween contest. The same one I did last time, but I'm going to try it painting. See how I go about it that way. Maybe not the same character. I'm thinking of 2 of the other characters in the series. But it's very. Wait a sec. Yeah, I'm gonna try and like incorporate a Umineko design in them. One of the characters is a very crazy and maniacal character, so I'm thinking about dressing her up in as Beatrice, cackling, something of that nature. And there's another character who's very calm and collected. I'm thinking either putting her as Shannon or maybe Dolores Nox. Dillonor, not Dolores. But yeah, give me a sec. Let this dry a bit, and I'll pull out the other ones. Yeah, it's like I'm almost done, but there's still always just this little bit that needs some touch up. All right. Very simple little painting here, but yeah, it's I like the art streams I do too. It's very chill, very relaxed, and I learned some stuff. That should be good. All right, but here we go. This is the basically finished Sailor Moon picture. But one of the neat things about this one is unintentionally, it works both ways. I did not plan that, but it works that way. Here she's like falling down from the sky or some weird thing. But here she's doing a handstand in the middle of space, whatever. Alright, so I'm gonna set this again. Varnish it? Maybe? My knowledge of painting is put paint on canvas. And I don't know of any other things to do like that. All my other ones are just dry paint and nothing else on it. I probably could, but I probably should, huh? Right, give me a moment and I'll pull out my other paintings. Well, I guess he wants to be first, so here's one of the other ones I've done. And there we are. This is Link from Majora's Mask with his razor sword. I do like the design. It's pretty cool. But yeah. And yeah, these are all just standard paint, nothing special about them. But apparently, I really should invest in that. These are canvases, and they have, you can see there's a bit of flex on them. Apparently, if you get them wet with like spray on the back, it'll shrink them up and make it work better or something. I don't know. Haven't done it yet. This one is Link's. This is my like 3rd ever painting. Here's Beatrice the Elder. I still need to finish this one. I've got butterflies. I'll work on that. I'll put in some of the butterflies for this one. I still need to finish it up. This is Beatrice the Elder. A bit of work needs to be done on it, but it's I can do better. That's the thing. It's good. It can work, but it can be better, and that's the thing that bugs the hell out of me. I know I can do better, but this is all I've got at the moment. Here's Beatrice the Golden. Or I can't quite fit it all in the camera. I've got her dress down there, and all of it over here. But yeah, it's been an interesting process. I'm pretty decent at doing some of the shading bits on like clothes and inanimate objects, and I'm pretty decent at people, but I suck at faces. And this here is Amazon from the game Dragon's Crown. I love the art style of this guy. He does a lot of very good artwork. But yeah. And I'm working my way through. I've got one more that's currently in the process of being worked on. No, maybe I'll show that one tomorrow. Right. Probably should do a bit of varnish on here. Yeah, since I've got some of the yellow and the pale white, I suck at faces too. Faces are hard, mainly because we know what faces should look like. Alright, I gotta quick pull up a reference image here real quick. Give me a moment. But yeah, it's faces are so weird. They're just so weird. And there we are. Good enough. Okay. So there should be some butterflies. A second. Should be one about here. 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 No, about here. And about here. And here. 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 And there. That should be where the butterflies sit. Thereabouts. But yeah, faces, I haven't done this one justice. I am going to go back and fix it. I just don't know how, what, or why. What I need to do to fix it. It's really upsetting me. So until that point, this painting is in a perpetual state of cat box. It is finished and it isn't finished, which I guess is a relatively thematic statement. But yeah, it's not like I just picked up painting one day. I have had a considerable amount of art practice over the years. I never put anything horribly in depth in any of this stuff, but I over the years you have someone look at it. Well, I think what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to get the reference image and do some very small grid work, see where exactly it is, give like a direct comparison type thing. We'll see. But yeah, having somebody else look at your stuff is a very good way of getting away from the situation, getting your own head out of it. Alright, so this is actually a bit higher, so up there, and down. Like that. There's probably a smaller brush. Get the tail ends in there. Here we've got butterfly, mid flap. Oh, here I'll see if I can do that for you. There, that's the picture I'm going from. But yeah, it's worst critics. Yeah, I will fully admit on that one. It's not a bad trait to have as long as it's moderation. As long as you don't go, I'm horrible, I'm worthless, it's never going to be any good. That's a bad internal critic. But if you can go, it's wrong, I know I can do better, but it needs fixing somehow. That's, I think, a healthy internal critic. That's what I'm trying to work at. And yeah, it's beating yourself up about your own state of whatever is not overly healthy. One of the other things that is like really important to learn, bad sort of internal critic. Well, one of the things I can suggest to get you out of that mindset is because I have had some personal dilemmas with bad internal thoughts, stuff like that. I got out of it. I got better, truly. But I'm thankful that I went through it in the first place. But one of the things I can suggest, at least to give yourself, at least to see how bad of a situation you've got, how bad of an internal critic you have, is anytime at all you think to yourself, oh, I suck, or I'm not doing any good, or you have any bad thought like that, any time at all, physically stop. Like you're walking along and you have the thought, just stop and notice it and like keep track of it. Okay, so I said a bad thought, it's not really that bad. Go about your day and you'll have another one. Stop. Look at the comment. It's not really that bad. Move on. And I think physically stopping, it was important for me to not just go through the motions of it and actually hold up and realize those comments I was saying. And what I realized when I did that was I say it a hell of a lot more times than I think I do. And once you hit that point, you can then react accordingly. Because knowing is half the battle. It's a very weird butterfly. It's not looking right. I think I need a larger... There we are. That's better. And then you over here. But yeah, it's one of the big things is your mind can play so many tricks on you and try and get you to believe things that are not true or unhelpful in order for you to not do something. Gee, Corey. Oh yes. But yeah, it's most any of the advice, almost all the advice I talk about is stuff I've actually gone through, stuff I've actually helped myself get through. So I'm speaking from experience in a lot of these things. But yeah, I didn't realize how much I did it. One of the other ones is writing things down, because you can have like ideas and thoughts in your head and it's like, man, this kind of sucks, or even on the flip side, I'm actually doing pretty good, I think I'm doing great. But then you look at it and you actually realize No, I'm not. I actually had one of those, I was doing these art streams, or it was either an art stream or the reading streams. And I thought I was doing a pretty good job, pretty decent pace. I think it was like an hour a day when I first started out, just something to do. And then I started actually calculating how much I actually did in those streams. And it turns out I was not doing a lot. It's like an entire week I would only do like 7 hours of, well, I think at the time it was like 6 hours of content or work a week. And I started like comparing it to minimum wage. It's like, a part-time job is like 32 hours a week, and I'm doing 6 hours a week. That's like 1/6 of a full workday. I'm not going to get anywhere at this rate. Prior to that, I thought I was doing a decent clip, but then I realized, no, I'm actually not. And it wasn't until I wrote it down and actually started looking at it itself that I realized, oh, things are a little bit different than I had in my head. Yeah, musicians and trying to write down my ideas. Yeah, fair enough. Well, then try recording. You got a little hum a tune, just kind of like pull out your phone, record it, something like that. But for me, I believe there's a difference between what you think and what you see, hear, and sense. It's very weird. Yeah, it's okay. I've been there too. I've had so many ideas on my route to work where I want to do art, I want to paint something, but I can't because it's a half-hour drive there, and then I have to stay at work, and then I get home, and then I can act on it. But by that point, I'm kind of put out. Whenever you have a motivation, try and act on it. Even in the smallest way, try and act somewhat in there. What I found is when you it's if you have the motivation, strike on it when you can, because so many times I'll forget an idea or I'll put it off, and what you find is you build up your own habits. Like, you have like an idea, for instance, I'm just going to use a musical term for you. Like, you get a song but you can't act on it. Okay, I'll get to it later. And then later on in the day, a song, oh, I'll get to it later. And then song, and oh, I'll get to it later, get to it later, get to it later, get to it later. You end up enforcing your own habit of never actually getting to it. So in order to counteract that, act when you can, act when it's available, and act on the emotion when you have it, because if you don't, you never will. Because that's what I had for me. I had ideas and stuff I wanted to do, but I wasn't able to do it at the time, so I ended up working on a lunch break. Give me a sec. Get on the butterfly wing here. And I ended up pulling my art stuff into the lunchroom with me. And so for lunches, I would pull out a bucket of chainmail, start weaving stuff together, pull out sewing, put that together. I even at one point pulled out clay and started working in the lunchroom at Walmart, because I wanted to act on my artistic impulses when I could, because if I didn't, I knew I never would. But yeah, so it's very important to act on things when you have it, and then reinforcing the habit of, I want to do something, I'm going to do it, as opposed to, I want to do something, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later, I'll get to it later. You never get to it later, and your brain is very, very effective at making you forget things, or making you put things off. And yeah, it's just so crazy. But yeah, well, here, here's something you can do. Anytime you have like little musical score or something you want to just jot down, carry it like a little pocket notebook, and you don't even have to write down the musical notation. Just mark down how many times it happens throughout the day. You get a little thought, mark a little tally mark in there. Get a little thought, mark a little tally mark on there. And at the end of the day, see how many tally marks you have that you didn't act on. And then apply that throughout the week. Apply that throughout the month. And realize every tally mark is one you haven't acted on. It's a time you tried to do something, but then put yourself down on. And if you go with the belief, we are what we do, and you end up just not doing, then that's what you're gonna do. And like, I've been there. It's one of the reasons I do these streams is once a day and like every day is because I just know I will put it off if I don't. So I've worked very hard to get myself into a habit of acting on the things I want to pursue. For the most part, it's things are different, and I take things chill. It's not like go, 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 but keeping myself honest to myself. Alright. One of the other things is, it doesn't work, you get motivated for an idea, and then you do the idea. It's, you start doing something, and then you get motivated because you're doing. Like for instance, right now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's 6 paintings here. This is more painting and more projects I've actually completed than I have ever done in my life. It's unmotivation is killer. I have been there. I have legitimately been there. I know exactly how horrible unmotivation can be. What helps me is moving. I find when I get like really stressed or anxious, and when it gets like really bad, I'll start pacing. And once I start pacing, that's when ideas start coming to me, or like solutions for how to do things. You should do more painting. And I plan to. I'm currently going through it. But one of the things is, a couple of things. One of the problems was, this loops back to some of the stuff I was talking about earlier, is some of the my like sculpting and stuff, I had no deadline for a project. I'll work on it, and I'll putz on it, and I'll do a little bit here, a little bit there, and just kind of get there whenever I get there. And I found I would only mostly finish one sculpture, one drawing, one whatever. And it wasn't until I had a deadline that I actually worked on it. There was somebody who said, there was a quote, I think somebody I heard recently. And they talked about the project will take as long as you think the project will take. If you think it'll take a week, you'll get it done in a week. If you think it'll take you a year, you'll get it done in a year. It's the same with like homework essays. It's like, you have 3 months to finish this project. Alright, cool, I got 3 months. And then at the 2-month and 29-day mark, shit, I need to get this done. It will take you 3 months to get that project done. Yeah. Depression does not help much for motivation. Not at all. It is very, very bad for motivation. The things I can suggest for depression: 1, eat healthy. Stop eating bad food, because your body is running off of that. You eat healthier. You don't have to make like perfect diet meals or whatever, but if you're eating like a Pop-Tart as opposed to like an actual eggs, shift to something simple but better for you, and then you will feel better. More energy in your day, more ability to react to things. Get your system back into a normal, what it should be. Second is get active. You don't have to exercise. You don't even have to do any of that. but just physically move. Because when I was depressed, I spent a lot of time not moving, not doing anything. And it wasn't until I started, like I said, I would pace. Once I would pace, I'd like pace for like an hour or so, just doing pacing back and forth and thinking. After I was done pacing, I felt a lot better. I'd go out for walks, I'd feel better. I'd go out dancing, I'd feel a hell of a lot better. Movement, interaction, getting yourself active will help so much in depression. And it's not easy. I've been there, dragging yourself out of bed to do anything. Another one is do small little things. Like if your room is a mess, just clean off. You don't have to clean up the whole room, but maybe clean off the little nightstand table by your bed. Okay? Then once you do that, well, I might feel like doing something else. Just a small little act of doing and action will help you keep going. I apply it to Newton's laws of motion. An object at rest will tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force. An object in motion will tend to stay in motion unless acted upon by an outside force. I apply that to motivation and action. The doom and gloom stuff. Yeah, well, my recommendation for you, anytime you get doom and gloom pop up in your head, physically stop yourself. If like you're saying, oh man, I'm not doing any good, it's horrible, just physically stop. Don't like let it go. Just physically hold yourself, stop, and look at it and say, no, that's not true, or correct whatever the statement is. It doesn't have to be, man, this bagel tastes horrible. Stop and say, no, this bagel tastes awesome. Not like that. Be honest with it. Don't be hyperbolic. Don't say, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me. Say, no, it's bad, but it could be better. It could be worse. But physically stop yourself and get yourself to notice it. That's why it's so important for me to physically stop and doing that stuff. I have to stop my brain, stop that train of thought, and I do it by physically stopping myself and then looking at it. And then once you stop, look at it, and correct it, then you move on. It's a very important bit for me. It's what I've done, and it works very well. Because you'll realize once you stop yourself, every time you have a doom and gloom comment, you'll start training yourself, I really don't want to be doing this anymore. So you stop thinking like that. And yeah, see, good food, it makes a difference. On Buddhism? Honestly, yeah, it's I've never read any Buddhist scriptures. I've actually never read any real religious or spiritual texts. I know of the Bible, but I've never actually read it in any significant capacity. Went to a friend's Bible study group at one point, but I never read any of it other than like the chapter or whatever we were reading. But you can't change your thoughts, only how you react to it. Yes. And you can't stop your thoughts from coming, but you can change the flow that they go in, the direction they're in. Like if you have negative thoughts and you can't stop it, physically preventing you from ever having a thought. That doesn't work. But you can alter and curve the trajectory back towards the direction you want it to go. But yeah, my thoughts on Buddhism. I think my understanding of the Buddhist mindset, I think actually clicks pretty well with me. Not all of it, but as I understand it, it basically amounts to be good to people, and do things, just be good. it's everything boiled down to the simplest phrase is just be good. And so I like that. It's like, don't try and force problems onto others. Don't try to do this or that. Like I said, I haven't read any of it. Most I know of is odd little YouTube clips of stories from Buddha doing whatever. But there is the bit of forgiveness. Be excellent to each other. That's, if you actually go to my Discord, the rule book, I have that as the rule set. Yeah, here, I'm gonna pull that up real quick. Yeah, my rule book for Discord. I basically adhere to the Wild Sounds method of be excellent to each other and party on, dudes. I tend to believe most people can be good and am willing to give them the chance to prove it. I'm not, however, totally naive and will discipline people if things get ugly. Things are generally treated on a case-by-case basis and such to change as the server develops. In short, if you act like a Nimrod, you will be treated like a Nimrod. Don't be like that. Those are my the rules of my Discord server. And it's, I think one of the things is with the Buddhist understanding of forgiveness. That's, I think, a big one. Because a lot of people don't forgive. They don't forget. And I think that's actually a big detriment to most people. Because I know of situations where people will hold a grudge for years. Now, for one thing, one of the things I disagree with on the Buddhist principles is forgiving everybody. I don't think that flies. If you were to try and just be a, like a better term, a bleeding heart, a true pacifist, you aren't being true to the world. The world has bad in it. That is a given. And to forgive people for being bad is not a proper response. There is evil. There is bad out there. And deciding to just forgive that doesn't jive with me. But at the same time, it's really? I didn't know that. And Nimrod has always been an insult for as long as I've known it. Sec. There you go. Some basic butterflies. But yeah, it's, forgiveness is a very odd and hard to explain concept. Always changing up terms. Yeah, it's probably gonna get struck down for saying this, but the original term, see if you can pick up on what it is before I actually get to the modern equivalent, was, I think, stupid. Stupid, I think, was the actual medical term for it, and then they changed it to mongoloid, and then they changed it to retard, and then they changed it to whatever it is now. Mentally retarded? I don't quite know. But one of the problems is the term can change. You can change the word. Mentally impaired, that's what it is, yeah. Shakespeare even said it, and this was back in Shakespeare days. A rose by any other name would still smell just as sweet. An insult by any other name would still be an insult. It doesn't matter what you call it, it still is the concept. I don't even pay attention to the political terms. I do not care about them. I do not give them any credit because they do not work. it's a failed concept. Yeah, slowly, yeah, and fire retardant, suppressing and slowing fire, and music, ritardanto, music, which means slowly, yeah, you retard the musical, progression, you slow it down. Yeah, I know what the base term means, and which is why they use it as a medical term. They are mentally slower in some aspects, but it just doesn't work. The politically correct thing is, well, one of the issues is political correctness stems from the desire to not offend people. That is why they have the political correctness. In order for them to feel better about this situation, we are going to stop referring it to in this degrading way. Fair enough, that makes sense. But there was like some comedian who brought this point up, and it made a bit of a joke about it, but I can't remember his name. He generally wears a black shirt. He's an older guy, kind of bald, makes funny faces. I can't remember his name. Yes, and that's the thing. Things will change, but it doesn't work like that. It's lost my train of thought, but you can call things whatever you want, but trying to not offend people is a fool's errand. The current situation of preferred pronouns makes no sense. Trying to not offend people does not work. You could do every single rule they follow and still offend them. It cannot be done because there is no logistical rules to follow. It's all an emotional based response. And so you can't predict any of that. It's an emotion. Fool's errand. Yeah, it never ends. You like call someone a man. Well, what about the girls? Well, woman. Well, we'll have that, right? Okay. Well, woman is now a degrading term. It calls female. Okay, it's male and female. Well, that's now a degrading term. You need to call us the superior gender. Okay, now you're the superior gender. Well, that's degrading this. There is no end to it. As soon as you go with one thing, somebody will be offended about it because of its use, just by it being used. So, it cannot be done. So the simplest option and the most effective one is to ignore it. And just go about things as damn it. Just go about things as you would yourself. If you offend somebody, let me rephrase that. When you offend somebody, because you will offend somebody some way, somehow. There's no denying you will do that at some point. The only exception being if you're the last person on Earth and there's nobody to offend. Oh yeah, I know, it's just down with some fancy tools and different thoughts. Yeah, nowadays, and yeah, it's I try to ignore. Too many people are fragile snowflakes. Well, yeah, it's a bit different in a work environment. You have to follow some of the rules of the people hiring you, but in your personal endeavors, I just don't follow the rules like that. But on the other train of thought for a moment, yeah, there's no superior gender. There, at the extremes, the genders do have differences. Men tend to be a stronger, larger build. Women tend to not be. It's just how things are. Women tend to be a bit more flexible than men. It's not to say they can't, but that's some of the main the most glaring differences. Men are taller, women tend to be shorter. With that exception of the extremes, we're basically equal. And it just is. And so, trying to treat... It gets very weird. We don't have too many differences. And so, yeah, just treat people like people. Don't treat them like a gender or a race or what have you. Just treat people like a person, and things will be a lot simpler. You're not alone. It's I'm in a similar boat. It's society is going in very wrong directions. And I honestly can't quite correct it much. But and honestly, a person is a person, no matter how small. And it's simple things like that. It's one of the problems with society nowadays is the vilification and monsterification of people. You can label somebody as something, and like, this person is labeled as a horrible person, therefore anything they do is unforgivable. I can treat them as a bad person and not feel bad about it. And that is the mindset. Being able to mentally justify not treating a person as a person. And that's when lines get crossed, and that's when things go crazy. More often than not. I treat you right, just do the same, please. And yeah, isn't it such a simple concept? I'll treat you right, you treat me right, everything is better. Golden rule sort of mentality. Yeah, it's a very, very simple mindset. And it's one that... it's so weird. I think part of it also is... I think one of the things with society nowadays is also the internet. As strange as it seems. The internet is a vastly connectable thing, but it also creates anonymity. People who make a username or some such and make a internet personality, they then become detached from their actions, and they can do whatever they want. And like, you can go online and say whatever you want, and there's not really any repercussions. If anybody does something wrong to you, you can just mute them, ban them, block them, ignore them, things like that. And so there's no consequence of your actions. Which leads to people just doing those behaviors more and more. Disinformation. Yeah, yep. And there's a hell of a lot wrong with the world. And again, I've talked about it before, but it's my belief that I'm not really going to change the world in a grand scale. So I believe in changing the world at the small scale. You change it at the core base belief, a grassroots system, and it'll grow up from there. You start treating people right, then those people will start treating other people right. Kind of a pay it forward type thing. Now, I'm not that naive to say that it'll be a perfect utopia, but it's a step in the right direction, as well as helping the people you're able to help. No, this entire soundtrack is Uineko, every bit of it. Acceptance being a very big part of the person, absolutely. Absolutely, absolutely. 1 second, I need to find out where my paint went. Oh, there it is. So let's be a bit brighter. But yeah, it's acceptance, and one of the other ones is tolerance, but to an extent. It is, it is. I did take out some of the more jarring and oddball ones. More a chill attitude. But acceptance and acceptance, forgiveness, tolerance, and such, very good traits to have, but they are not infallible. And this is where I believe I come a bit odds with the Buddhist mindset. What am I doing? Because accepting people for as they are, potentially, accepting a mistake for something it's not, no. Accepting a wrong belief, a wrong factual thing, it, especially nowadays, can't be applied in a vacuum. Absolutely. You have to treat the situation as the as it actually is, not as it is believed to be. And that's a big one for me. Not just with people, but just anything. Treat it and look at it as it is, not as it could be, or as it may be, or as it is believed to be, or as it should be. So, more you. Needs to be seen. Yeah, because actually, tolerance is a weird thing. I think I might know what you're talking about, but I unsure about that. I think the idea I'm on is the tolerance paradox, but I'm not sure. But if you tolerate a bad person being a bad person, that allows them to be bad more and more. And so if you just sit there and do nothing but tolerate them, and only tolerate them, you are encouraging bad behavior. But so you need to set boundaries. You need to set a condition where this is not okay anymore. This is not how it should go. Be tolerant, but be tolerant of things that should be tolerated. And I can't say one way or the other what that should be, but decent color, a bit more white. Alright. I feel so it's I run into a lot of things like that, and again, most everything I deal and talk about is kind of self-taught or self-realizing, I guess is one way to put it. But yeah, it's, you can't just, and that's one of the other things is moderation. You can't just, there are, for the most part, with the extremes, how do I say this? Take everything in moderation. You can't just have one size fits all for anything. Everything is based off everything else. And so one of the aspects is, I think one of the things is like equity, I think is the term, where you can treat people differently but still treat them the same. I know, not black and white, right? Yeah, except when it physically, literally is black and white. But yeah, it's like there's the term equity, and it was actually one I've relatively recently, a while back, learned about, where there's another term, equivalence of opportunity versus equivalent of outcome. Equality. equality of opportunity versus equality of outcome, I think is it. Where if you want the same outcome from everybody, as opposed to everybody has the same opportunity, is where some things happen. Yeah, change their values and had to leave. And yeah, it's, I don't envy you for doing that, but yeah, it's you. On one of the other things is you can't really change people. It's like if you wanted to try and help the toxic person, whoever they happen to be, that person themselves has to be willing to change. And hell, the same logic applies to you yourself. You first cannot change unless you are actually willing to change. There's another something I heard a while back that kind of stuck with me, and it makes a lot of sense, and it is what it is. But yeah, good on you for that though. And I do some, I call it a cleansing, and like in my house when like things are bad, it's like, all right, yeah, I really need to clean up my place. I call it a cleanse, or same thing with my computer. If I just have so many files I don't use, just do a clean wipe of everything. Just get it all off the table, and then start fresh, start anew, and start working with things I want to work with. Yeah, it's just buddies, people in passing, I guess. And yeah, it's hard to do that, and I know it is. I've kind of been there, not quite as involved as you seem to be, but I have been in a situation like that. Attachments, people online, yeah. It's I don't really have much attachment to online people, you guys being an exception. This online chat here is honestly the most I've ever been connected to online people, like ever. The other time was like in World of Warcraft when I was in my guild, and even then I was just kind of a tag-along part of the group. I wasn't quite in depth to it. Self-reflection to change it. Yeah, it's do change sometimes, not for the better. And yeah, it's just human nature. But the thing is, going back onto a couple topics, people change only when they want to change, you yourself included. If you were trying to, this was from, I heard this from somebody who worked with a counselor. You cannot change other people. You cannot change them. If the person does not want to change, they won't. You can force it, and you can put logic, you can put everything in the way to get them to change, but unless they are willing to, it won't happen. And in similar train of thought, like for personal preference, you won't change unless you want to change. There's a quote and thought that you always do what is most important for you at all times. It sounds a little silly and a little kind of like duh, but it also makes sense. Yeah, it's never heard it before. Well, cool. That's actually really cool. I like that. I took a trip to Germany, halfway across the world, to see my viewers online. And like I said, this is the most I've ever been involved with the online people. And yeah, it's online people are not fake people, they're actual people, not counting the bots. But you are talking with an actual other person on the end of that little chat bar. You were talking to another real physical human being. They're just located somewhere else. It's almost like superficial. And yeah, it's just, there's that. And that's where the anonymity of online stuff comes into play. No consequences for your actions. But yeah, I want to try and get to this point. You do what is always most important to you, all the time. Yeah. But people online are people too, yeah. It is weird just how some of that stuff. Yeah, forget that other people are on the other side. Yeah, there's just this disconnect, and it's showing at times. Oh, really? Yeah, and I think it's just because there's a disconnect. Where normally it's like person A and person B get together and are actually physically there together. There's no disconnect. It's direct from person A to person B. They're talking, communicating, doing whatever. But when you have a layer in the middle of that, the internet, or a sensor filter, or an avatar, or a game, or whatever it is, you start having more levels of disconnection between you talking to the person. And it creates a scenario where it doesn't really matter, because one of the other ones, thinking to an inanimate object. Like, one of the other ones is like a text message. You can get a message, and then put it aside, and get back to it later. That's actually, I think, a perfect example of it. You can't do that with real people. Like, you're talking to somebody, and they say something, and you just ignore it and set it aside and come back to it later. That's not how people work. But it is how mail works. But yeah, that's a monoscreen believes that it's just an object. Well, I can't see that, but I can also see there's no reaction. It's like with text, for instance, you're seeing a string of letters and sending it out to somebody, and then they have another string of letters and it's sent to you. There's no talking, there's no body language, there's no response. It's just text, and it's interpreted as best as you can make it. It's not what it is, it's an interpretation of what it is. Which is why text is a very odd thing, and why I do a lot better with physical people. I can sit there, talk, and like shrug. Like, yeah, for here I can shrug, and you kind of can pick up on that, as opposed to having to type shrug, or not even having it at all. There's that level of disconnect, and you can't get around it. Potentially very harmful. Yeah, it's. Well, I think this goes back to one of the other ones. It dehumanizes the element. Currently, you guys are just a name. Cyrus654 and Nightmare822. You are just text on my screen. I've never seen your face. I've never seen what you look like. I know about you, but there's just this physical element of disconnect, inhuman about it. I try to treat you as best I can as people, because you are people. But I can see other people missing the subtlety of it. Yeah, subtleties. Misconstrued or misread. That people are talking to me. Yeah, it's just, yeah, I think, yeah, subtlety, that's another good word. And I think that's actually one of the big things that's missed in modern society. Right. Well, greetings, Michael. My name is Corey. It's good to officially meet you. And Kevin, I'm glad I've met you. Very much so. It's... And... Hey guys. Michael and Kevin. Very nice to have met you all. No, you didn't. And one of the things... since this is an online public official session, I try not to press information for personal information of my viewers. I don't see that as needing to be shown. If you're willing to tell me, I will accept it, but I'm not going to force anybody to do anything against their will. So yeah, that's one of the reasons I don't ask for names, is because the internet never forgets. The internet is not nice. And so I don't wish to expose any of you to that. Well, it just seems a bit common sense. Because how many Twitter stories have somebody said something and dropped a name, and then that person's life is just completely ruined for whatever inane reason? So yeah, it's nice to meet you guys, Kevin and Michael. Thank you for that. That's just a simple act of like saying a name like that. It's in and of itself, it's not much, but there's now a very different feeling to it. You are now more human because of it. And it's, I can't quite put it, but there's now more of a connection there, which is really cool. But yeah, so. But yeah, see, and then, well, going back a little bit. Give me a sec. The dehumanizing aspect, I see it all over the place. Especially with a lot of the media now. There's, I hate to bring in politics, but that's a very, very, very important deal right now in America. Significantly so. But you see it mostly with left-wing people. There's the Trump is a racist, Trump is a homophobe, Trump is evil mindset. Anybody who agrees with Trump is a racist. Those statements are very damning. But then people have acted on that, and once you've labeled somebody as not a human, you can then treat them as not a human. Oh, they're just a monster. You can beat them. It's no big deal. They deserve it. They are a monster. That's not how it goes. There are monsters, and I can't quite condone violence, but there are consequences for actions, or at least there should be in some cases. And the very ugly, not very good ones need some of it too. I think I'm gonna try something. Well, let's try Drag Rush. And so, once you can take the consequences away from your actions, things become very different. Yeah, it's, I know. I try and steer away from the three big ones: religion, politics, and sex. Those are the three main ones to try and steer away from because of obvious reasons. But they do get brought up every so often. It's not that I don't wish to talk about them, it's just that it causes problems. Yeah, no, I understand exactly what you mean. But, it's also a very important topic here. Well, yeah, the one's being kind of generic and roundabout by it, but, being afraid to talk about something is also another oddity. Being afraid to, say the wrong thing is a form of self-censorship. And so it perpetuates a problem. If there is a problem and you're afraid to talk about it because of whatever reason, come on. Sorry, this technique has to be done very quickly because the paint dries. So I got to focus on that for a bit. Alright, it's a mostly charged topic. It is, absolutely. And it can break up people. It absolutely can. Yeah, and that's the thing. And what I see is political discourse falls generally in two different directions. One, people like me and you who want to talk politics, but are wary of the harm in it. and two, the people who don't care about the harm and will push it down other people's throats. That's the two extremes of it. And political views, it's, yeah, I've kind of been there. I still consider some of those people friends. I don't have too many different values, but yeah, I've been there. Their political views just don't mesh, and one of the things is political views tend to be very core to your belief as a person. Not saying because you are this, you have to be that, but it indicates what you believe and what you stand for. And if those don't mesh up, it's hard to make it work with people. Rough topic. Yeah, it's... Yeah, too strong. Too much politics. Yeah, it's a strange game. The only winning move is not to play, sort of. But I tend to follow one team and refuse to lose to the other team. And yeah, it's I think one of the big ones for that example actually is the willingness to be wrong is a very important but very lacking skill that people don't seem to have. If somebody proves a point, whatever it happens to be, and people don't accept it, I can't be wrong. You're wrong. That is a disconnect. I see it with like fanatics. It's the only real term for it. Fanatics, where they will stick with their beliefs till their dying days, even if everything points contradictory to it. They will stick to it. That's a problem. And it's the people who are willing to change and alter their views based off new information or new input. Those ones are the ones who grow. Yeah. Yeah, it's interact with people that know what I don't. Yeah, it's hell, even in my work is a good example. I work at Radio Shack, and people come in with a lot of older technology, before my time type stuff, or ones that wasn't fully experienced with. And instead of trying to explain to them and bluff my way to knowing like I sound what I do, I point them to somebody else. He knows a lot more about it than I do. I am not unwilling to accept that I don't know things. Perfectly fine with it. But it's well, that's actually somewhat of a good thing. Your growth as an infant is extremely exceptional. Knowing what I don't know. But yeah, the fact that, what is it? Who the hell said that? Socrates? I know that I know nothing. And that's it. You only know what you know. And as long as you realize that, you can improve. It's because these topics, I see so many meshing topics, and it's really hard to explain it all, but it all makes sense. To grow and help out others as best we can. Caveat, not at the expense of your own well-being. Significantly so, anyway. Help out others. Yes, it's very good. But if you're helping out others, and it's hurting you significantly, don't help them. Take care of yourself. I know I've heard it somewhere, but in like a field medic's rule book, take care of yourself first, because if you can't take care of yourself, you can't take care of anybody else. Like a field medic in a war, in any battle, you are the only one who can heal these people. If you go down because you're trying to heal everybody else, you will then heal nobody. But if you heal yourself and lose somebody, you then have the ability to save everyone else. It's an odd Equilibrium, I guess. Actually, Equilibrium. The movie, A Beautiful Mind. Nash. What is his name? There's a guy, Andrew Nash, something like that, who came up with a mathematical equilibrium for all aspects of life. And I think that applies to a lot of things too. Work on helping others rather than myself. And yeah, I've been there too. It's one of my I tend to bring things into game terminology and formats, because that's what I tend to think in a lot of the time. But I used to be a support healer in Warcraft, the raid healer, or the healer in Team Fortress, things like that. But in the raid healer, I would sit there and I would try and heal everybody else's health bar, and then I'd forget my own, and I'd die, and then everyone else would die. So you have to take care of yourself in order to take care of everybody else. Just don't value myself. It's John Nash. That's it, John Nash. Yeah, and you don't value yourself. That is something you need to change. You have value in yourself. You are a valuable person. The fact that, hell, just from the conversations you have, the short time I have, I can tell you are a good person. There is value in you. You realize that. And look, here, if you want value in yourself, do this. You are a cook. You've shown some pictures of food in the Discord channel, and I'm actually impressed in it. I might actually ask you some recipes, because I actually do need some cooking practice, because I will be moving out and I don't quite know how to cook yet. But if you want to have value in yourself, look at the bottom worst of the worst. Okay, look at people who make absolutely horrifying food dishes, and look at how proud they are of those accomplishments. Look at the horribleness of people and see where you are. When you say you don't have value, you are thinking of yourself below others. But generally that's a sign of not quite understanding where exactly you really are in the world. Oh yeah, absolutely. It's currently my most advanced dish is the sandwich. Mayonnaise, meat, greens, pickles, cheese. That's about it. It's not that I can't cook, I just never took up any, I never looked into any information on it. I can, and I know how to, and I can follow directions, I just never did. But yeah, you as a person have value. It's kind of really important for me to not let people degrade themselves or believe themselves inferior. It's because I've been there. Abuse, neglect, to be honest. Now, yeah, it's I didn't have any abuse, neglect. I've had a different type of problem. Yeah, wow. I'm sorry. I honestly can't quite do it. I can't quite relate. But yeah, that's it. That's your story. One of the other things, one way to look about it is side grades. That's the term. Sorry, it's trying to coherent my thoughts here. We each have different things, and the human mind tends to think things in a very simple, linear fashion when things are actually a lot more complicated than it. One of the terms is, you better eat that because there's starving children in Africa. Yeah, but they may be happy with their life, and really bad example, but they may have other issues. They may be starving, but they're a good family unit. You may not have a family unit, but you have food. There's trade-offs in life. And yeah, it's your situation may seem bad, but somebody else will always be worse. There's always somebody who's in a worse position than you, just as there's always somebody in a better position than you. Dead inside. That's it's virtual hug. But yeah, man. Well, I will just say this as an aside. I'm always willing to talk about things. For me personally, I didn't have any abuse, neglect, stalker, anything like that. I had the odd problem of nothing. It's really odd, and I don't quite know how to explain it, and I feel weird for not having any problems, but still having problems. My personal problem was nothing. I never went out and did anything. It was just kind of the same. Stayed at home. I had some friends, but never went out with them. I never went and did things. I never had anything bad happen to me. I was just like about as neutral as it could get, which caused me problems because I never learned how to do any of it. Help others in what ways I can. Yeah, that's one way of putting it. One of the reasons I tell the stories about what I've done is because I've gone through a 6-year depression, at least. Left high school, did jack shit for 6 years, horrible depression. I didn't have a license, didn't have a car, didn't have a job, didn't have any money, lost a lot of my friends. I didn't even have a room to myself. I was sleeping in a living room, on the couch for 6 years. All that stuff. I didn't have any prospects in life, and for 6 years, I was very depressed. I tried to do art and do a business effort, but I used up my life savings to do any of that and got nowhere. So I had 6 years of nothing with an addition of failure. Pretty depressed. But I say that because that depression was one of the best things that ever happened to me. As weird as it is, yeah, I was actually pretty fine with it. I actually kind of prefer a couch, honestly, as long as they're a good one. But that 6 years of depression caused a turning point, and from there, my life got a lot better. Got a job, got an income, got a car, got a license. Everything started going better. But because I had that low, I was able to realize how good the good is. It was a 12-year-old couch that we brought from our move from Arizona. Could have been better. I think we shifted around a couple of times and I had different couches, but it is what it is. I'm fine with it. But yeah, I did get a futon at one point, but actually the futon was worse than the couch, as weird as that may seem. But getting back to it, one of the examples is because I had that big of a low, that 6-year depression, now the small highs are that much bigger for me. One of the examples is with music. If you just always turn it up to 11, you lose the subtlety. Everything just becomes 11, and that is the norm. It's not until you do the lows that the highs become higher and the lows become lower with music. You need the lows to value the highs, and you need the highs to value the lows. And it's a very important thing for me personally. I don't wish depression or horrible things on anybody, but I do wish people have the ability to experience it, to know what it means to truly enjoy and be in a good thing. Can you imagine my bed? Listen to a lot, yeah. And that is one of the other things. Music is actually very effective for me. When I've had my lows, I had the 6 years of depression. It still flares up, and it's just a very mild. I guess I'm going to be kind of depressed. Some of the songs I've got a favorite one. I'll tell you in a minute. But I've had songs that just start turning on, and I can immediately tell my mood improves just from that one song, and then the rest of my day is a lot better because I heard that one song, felt so much better. And a lot of it is mindset, finding a bit of joy and sticking with it. Because one of the other things is, if in your mind you're always negative, always negative, always negative, you will treat the rest of your day, the rest of your life as negative. Like, if you woke up on the wrong side of the bed, it's a grouchy morning, and then you just carry that throughout the day. I woke up on the wrong side of the bed, I'm all grouchy. And lunchtime, my back's still painful because I woke up on the wrong side of the bed and I'm grouchy. End of the night, I hope I don't go to sleep on the wrong side of the bed today because I'm grouchy. You just perpetuate that mindset. Now, it's not to say you'll never have that mindset by just believing good, but trying to actively work at shifting your mindset to something more positive makes a difference. It really does. Gotta have a little sadness once in a while so you know when the good times come. Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly it. You gotta have the sadness to let the happiness and the good times have more value. Because nothing is in a value. You have like a happy time? Well, compared to what? That happy time, like if like you were completely down in the dumps, like you were my family, well, here's an example. Me and my dad flew up here to do some property hunting before we actually bought this stuff. And there was one day where we were trudging through a bunch of property in the snow, through wet in the rain, and it was just kind of a miserable day. We were looking through it and we didn't quite find what we were looking for, but we went to town and let's eat something. A pizza joint? Sure, let's go in there. And we sat down, and that was my dad says that was some of the best pizza he's ever had. Some of. And part of it was because of such a bad day we had before. If we went there today, we'd just have pizza. It'd be a normal pizza. But the context of the day made that pizza that much better. And it's context. Nothing is in a vacuum. It's all relative to everything else around it. Alright. Racist, white supremacist. Yeah, no, my parents are actually pretty good. Really good. Actually, probably more good. I mean, let me put it this way. I'm still living with my parents. We own a 20-acre lot. I'm currently in a cabin that me and my dad built from our own trees as a outbuilding compared to the house, which is over there. They live over there. I live in this cabin over here. I have a very good family. Immediate family. It gets weird once you get to the extended family, but I'll not get into that because that's personal information I'm not at liberty to tell. Oh yeah, they worked hard to get in 20 acres. 1 acre place. Yeah, we used to live in Arizona, and we had a house in the suburbs across from a school, something like that. But they hated it, and wanted their own property. They wanted a place where they had all 4 seasons. They wanted their own land. They wanted to be somewhat self-sufficient. They wanted livestock, grow garden, things like that. Can't really do it in Arizona. It's a desert. So they spent 15 years trying to find a place to land, and they ended up right here where we're at in Colville, Washington. Of sorts. But yeah, it's land is interesting. One oddity is I find that I don't need land. I don't need property. I spent 6 years on a couch, and I'm actually fine with it. I wasn't complaining about it. I mostly just joke about it. Like, yeah, you went with that? I went without a room. I was without a couch. I turned out fine. And actually, I perfectly fine sleeping on the couch. Hell, even on the floor. If I got like a sleeping bag or something. That's no real issue to me. And so I find I don't need property. I have different values than my folks. And it's neat just seeing the differences in that. But yeah. Anyway, it is 6 o'clock. I managed to actually do some stuff. So I managed to make both Beatrice with butterflies, which is something I've been meaning to do for a long time, but never got around to it, and Sailor Moon and her moon. I just realized that. Never mind. Turning back trees on our land. trees are fucking weeds, man. They grow like hell. They grow all over the place. Yeah, if anybody says, don't kill the trees, you're deforesting them, they have no idea what trees are. Yeah, like, we have trees. My dad runs them over with a lawnmower sometimes because they just, like, sprout out of the ground and just keep growing. The trees will come back. Yeah, trees grow. They come back. Deforestation is not as bad as people make it out to be, especially in America. In other countries, maybe so, with the rainforest, which I'm not familiar with, but yeah. Oh, it's probably a while ago. Yeah, it's cleaning up a fallen tree. That hopefully there's no damage to it. I hope, or not the tree, but your property. Yeah. Ooh. You know what? Yeah, maybe tomorrow I'll show you some shelving that we made from one of our trees. It's got a neat pattern on it, and you know what? I'm gonna bring that with me to Texas. I'll show you wood furniture we made next time. Well, not really furniture, just a shelf. But anyway, bye bye. See you later. I'm headed out. I'm gonna eat some breakfast. But yeah, maybe for your dog. If you got pictures of that, even concept.